maternity ward is supposed to be one of the happiest places in the world. But every year, 300 babies are abandoned in these very wards in Israel, with no one to hug, kiss, or even touch them.
My name's Sivan Almoz, and I hug babies for a living. I work for the First Hug Association. Our job is to show up at the hospital when babies are either abandoned or alone, and to hug them.
Today, we're going to a hospital in northern Israel, where one of these babies is being cared for by volunteers from the First Hug Association.
This baby's 8 years old. He's actually a twin. His brother was born perfectly healthy and is back home with his family. But this baby was born without developed lungs. Since the day he was born, he's been attached to a ventilator in this hospital. He can't be taken out of here, so we're basically raising him here.
Are his parents in the picture at all?
They have 4 kids at home and they work, so it's very hard for them to come here and be with the baby. They try to come when they can, but it's only for a couple of hours at a time. So most of the time, he's alone.
Sick or abandoned babies are doomed to an unknown amount of time alone in hospital wards.
Healthy babies that are abandoned could be here only 1 or 2 weeks. Babies who have health issues can be stuck in the hospital for months or more, even years. Unhealthy babies won't necessarily be adopted. It means our volunteers need to be extremely available long term. People have this fantasy that they're going to be hugging this cute, healthy little baby, but in reality, many of the babies are sick and don't necessarily look very good. When they realize this, many applicants start to back off.
So why are these babies abandoned in the first place? Some babies can be perfectly healthy, but their parents are addicted to drugs or alcohol, or are too young to take care of them. Sometimes babies are born with severe health issues, and their parents say they don't have the emotional or financial ability to raise them. When you see these babies being hugged and touched by volunteers, do you see a visible difference from when they're alone?
Yes, we really see the difference. How much he relaxes, he smiles a lot, and when they're not there, he's often silent or crying.
I was born in Seoul, South Korea, and right after my birth, I was left in an orphanage. I grew up there until I was 3 years old. A Jewish-Israeli couple adopted me and raised me in Jerusalem. When my mom decided that she wanted to adopt a little girl, she arrived to the adoption agency and they showed her an album of pictures of kids. And she saw my picture. I was 2.5, not a cute little baby, and my face was dirty. I had a runny nose. And my mom told the adoption agent, "That's the little girl I want." The woman looked at her and said, "But she doesn't look that good." My mom said, "No, no. Something in my stomach, something in her eyes speaks to me. And she's going to be my little girl." And that was the stroke of luck that changed my life. I don't remember anything from when I lived in the orphanage, but what I do know is that one caretaker there would hug me. My mom says that when I arrived to them, I got off the flight from South Korea, and without even thinking twice, and with a lot of confidence, I reached out my hand to my mom, and I just walked off with her. I think that it's because someone in the orphanage truly saw me and gave me emotional and physical support. It gave me the feeling that I am worth something. I was important to somebody.
We all know that getting a hug makes you feel so much better, but touch is even more vital for babies. Human contact within the first hour of birth can regulate the baby's heartbeat, temperature, and breathing, and it helps them cry less. And babies who aren't held and hugged enough can actually stop growing. If the situation lasts long enough, they can even die.
Basically, babies, in order to develop mentally and cognitively, needs to be stimulated. To interact with people, to see things, to touch things, to hear things. That's the way that the brain develops. If we get a baby who doesn't get enough stimuli, it's basically like being alone in a cell. It's very similar to a prisoner who is in isolation. A baby can develop a sort of autism, which can go into deep developmental delays. Later, he has a lot of problems interacting with other people or communicating with other people. If we don't touch the kids actively, there is a severe cost to society. And by giving them this touch, we hopefully can get them to be a normal, functioning adult.
To me, because of my life story, I feel that every hug for these babies is like a hug for me, Sivan, the abandoned child. And it somehow gives light to the darkness that always surrounds me. That feeling of abandonment is still with me. And what our organization gives with a hug is a second chance at a good life, just like I was given.
טובים, כמו שאני קיבלתי אותה.